It was one of those slow, quiet evenings when the city outside my bookstore felt like a different world. Rain was tapping gently on the windows. The lights inside were warm and golden. The air smelled of old paper and cinnamon candles. I was behind the counter, writing a paragraph for my new book. Another love story that would probably end in heartbreak. That's when the door flew open. A tall man rushed in, his hood up, sunglasses on, breathing fast. He looked around like someone running from a crime scene or maybe from the world itself. "Please," he said, his voice deep and low. "Hide me." I blinked. "Excuse me." "Hide me," he repeated. "Just for a minute. Please." Outside I could hear shouting, excited voices, camera clicks, the sound of running footsteps. Paparazzi. So this wasn't just any guy. "And why?" I said slowly, crossing my arms. "Should I hide you?" He pushed the hood back. Dark hair, messy from the rain. Sharp jawline. Eyes the color of storm clouds. Even through the dim light, I recognized him instantly. Ethan Cole. The Ethan Cole. The youngest director to ever win an Oscar. The man every magazine called the genius of modern cinema. He gave a half smile, the kind that could melt a heart or start a fire. "Because," he said softly, "if you help me, I'll make a movie out of the next book I touch." That was such a ridiculous line that I almost laughed. But then he reached out. His fingers brushed one of the books stacked on the counter. My book. He looked down at the cover, read the title, then met my eyes again. "This one," he said. "What's it about?" I tried to find words, but my brain short-circuited. "It's about love," I muttered. "And loss. And not being ready for either." He nodded once like that meant something important. Then, without waiting for permission, he walked toward the back of the store. "Where's your storage room?" he asked. I hesitated, still stunned. "That way." But he was already gone, disappearing behind the curtain. I followed, mostly because I couldn't believe what was happening. He stood there among stacks of boxes, catching his breath. Even in chaos, he moved with that strange calm confidence, like he was always directing the scene around him. Outside, the shouts got closer. "Mr. Cole! Ethan! Over here!" He looked at me, eyes pleading now. "Please." Something in his voice, the raw exhaustion, made me nod. I grabbed an old sheet and covered the boxes, motioning for him to duck. The next minute, the door burst open again. Two fans peeked inside, giggling. "Sorry," I said, smiling politely. "We're closed." They left. The silence that followed felt thick. When I turned back, he was already standing again, pulling the sheet off with a smirk. "Nice hiding spot," he said. "You've done this before?" "Only for fictional people," I replied. He chuckled, low and genuine. "So you're a writer?" "Among other things," I said. "This bookstore is mine." He raised his eyebrows. "Your book, your store, your rules. Impressive." Then he picked up my novel again, flipping through a few pages. His fingers brushed the paper carefully, like it was something alive. "I wasn't joking," he said quietly. "About the film." I froze. "You're serious?" "Completely." He looked up, meeting my eyes. "There's something in these lines. Something real." I tried to play it cool. "You just read one page." He smiled. "Sometimes one line is enough." I didn't know what to say. No one had ever looked at my work like that, like it mattered. And no one had ever looked at me like that either. Outside, the rain got heavier. Inside, it was just us, standing too close, the world forgotten. He finally put the book down and adjusted his jacket. "Thank you for not giving me away," he said. I shrugged. "You owe me." He smirked. "Right. A movie, wasn't it?" "You don't have to." "I don't promise what I don't mean." He started toward the door, then stopped and looked back. "What's your name?" "Emma." He nodded slowly, like memorizing it. "Emma," he repeated, letting the sound linger. "Keep your phone close. My producer will call." And before I could ask what on earth he meant, he was gone, swallowed by the rain and flashing lights outside. For a moment I just stood there, surrounded by silence and the scent of wet paper. Then I looked down at the counter. My book was still there. But now, written across the title page in quick, confident handwriting, was a note. "A promise is a promise. E.C." I laughed out loud. It sounded ridiculous. No one like Ethan Cole would actually make a movie out of my book. Right? But part of me, the foolish, curious part that always believed in stories, whispered, what if he does? And just like that, the night felt different. Like the start of a chapter one hadn't planned to write. The next morning, I convinced myself it was just a dream. No way the Ethan Cole would come back to my little bookstore. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. Maybe the rain and too much coffee were to blame. But then 2 days later he walked in again. No hood this time. No sunglasses. Just him. Calm. Confident. Dangerous in the most casual way. Morning, he said, as if he'd been coming here for years. I froze halfway through arranging a new stack of books. You're back. He smiled. Told you I would be. I thought that was the line, I said. He placed a coffee cup on the counter, black, no sugar. For you, he said. Peace offering. Or maybe step one of our deal. I raised a brow. Our deal. You helped me. I promised you a movie. I don't break promises. I blinked. Wait, you were serious? He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small folder, and slid it across the counter. Inside, a printed document with his production company logo on top. You're kidding. Nope. He leaned on the counter, close enough for me to smell rain and cologne. I read your book. Twice. It's real. Raw. It's exactly what I've been looking for. I looked at him, still in disbelief. You read it twice in 2 days? He shrugged, a half-smile tugging at his lips. Couldn't sleep. My brain short-circuited again. You want to adapt it? He nodded. Yes. I want to make it into a film. But why mine? There are 1,000 better books out there. Maybe, he said softly, but yours feels true. It's written like someone who's actually been in love and lost it. That hit harder than I expected. I tried to laugh it off. So you're turning my heartbreak into a movie? Great. He smiled. Exactly. He waited, letting me process. Then quietly, so? Will you let me? I took a long breath. Only if I can visit the set sometimes. He tilted his head. You want creative control? I just want to make sure you don't turn my characters into robots. He grinned. Fair. He extended a hand. Deal. I hesitated, then shook his hand. His grip was warm, firm, confident. And too long. Way too long. When he finally let go, I pretended to check the time just to break the tension. So, I said, what happens next? You'll meet my producer tomorrow. We'll start the legal stuff, budget talk, casting. Casting. He nodded, studying me carefully. Yeah. We'll need someone who can carry the emotion of your main character. Someone real. I rolled my eyes. Good luck finding her. He smirked. I already did. For a second our eyes locked. He didn't mean the actress. He meant me. I looked away, pretending to organize books again. You're impossible. I'm a director, he said simply. We chase what we want until the scene works. He walked around the shop, fingers brushing over the shelves, stopping now and then to read a spine. This place, he said. It's beautiful. You could film here, you know. I'd rather keep it quiet, I said. This is my safe space. He turned, leaning against a shelf. Then I guess I'll have to behave while I'm in it. I laughed despite myself. That'd be a first for you? Probably, he admitted, smiling. There was something about the way he said it, honest, self-aware, just a little broken. He came back to the counter, close again. Too close. Emma, do you believe in moments? He asked. What do you mean? Moments when everything shifts. When you meet someone, and suddenly your story changes direction. I swallowed. Like in movies? He shook his head slowly. No. Like in life. I wanted to say something clever, but nothing came. My heart was beating too fast. He noticed, of course. He always noticed everything. Don't worry, he said with a grin. I won't steal your story. I'll just help you tell it louder. He picked up the signed copy of my book from the shelf, the one I'd written a note in for some random customer. He read my handwriting out loud. Love isn't always about staying. Sometimes it's about seeing someone clearly, even when they're gone. He closed the book slowly, looking at me. That's powerful. It's just a line, I said, my voice quiet. It's a truth, he replied. And I think the world needs to hear it. Then with a soft half-smile, he handed me his card. Tomorrow. 10 a.m. Don't be late. Directors hate late people. Is that a threat? It's an invitation. He turned to leave, but before opening the door, he glanced back. Oh, and Emma? Yeah. Next time coffee's on me. But you'll have to drink it on set. And with that, he disappeared again, leaving behind the scent of rain, coffee, and something dangerously close to excitement. I stood there for a long time, staring at his business card in my hand. Then I looked around the bookstore, my quiet, predictable world. Tomorrow everything would change. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of the change. I was ready for it. The movie set didn't look real. Bright lights, huge cameras, people rushing around with headsets. It felt like walking into a dream I didn't remember having. Only this dream smelled like coffee, sweat, and nerves. Ethan stood in the middle of it all, calm like he was born there. He wore black jeans, a plain t-shirt, and a focus so sharp it pulled everyone in. When he turned and saw me, that focus softened. You came, he said, like he wasn't sure I would. You invited me, I said. I'm not great at saying no. He smiled. Good. You'll fit right in. Someone shouted something about lighting. Another person handed him a clipboard. He gave a few quick instructions, his tone firm, his movements confident. Everyone listened. Watching him work was different. This wasn't the charming man from my bookstore. This was a director, someone who could turn chaos into art. He walked over to me between takes. You okay? He asked. I nodded, just trying not to touch anything expensive. He laughed. You'll get used to it. Then he leaned closer, lowering his voice. Want to see how we build a heartbreak scene? Sure, I said, though my heart was already beating like crazy. He led me to the monitor. On screen, 2 actors stood in a fake apartment, a scene from my book. The words I'd written months ago were now being spoken out loud perfectly. It felt surreal. My story, my pain, had become a film. Do you like it? He asked softly. I don't know, I whispered. It's beautiful, but it's strange hearing my words from someone else's mouth. He looked at me, his expression gentle. Maybe it's time someone else carried them for you. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. A few minutes later, he called for a short break. He handed me a headset. Come on. I'll show you how the magic happens. We walked through the set, our shoulders almost touching. He explained how each shot told part of the emotion, the lighting, the framing, the silence between lines. And I realized he didn't just make movies. He felt them. At one point, I tripped over a cable. His hand shot out, catching me by the waist before I could fall. Careful, he said, voice low, his hand still there. I froze. The world around us blurred, lights, voices, everything fading into the background. He didn't move right away. Neither did I. When he finally let go, my skin still felt his touch. Sorry, I muttered. Don't be. He smiled slightly. You're part of the story now. I didn't know what that meant, but the way he said it made me forget how to breathe. Hours passed. I stayed on set watching him direct. Every time he gave an order, people moved. Every time he smiled, the room relaxed. He was magnetic, and he didn't even try. By the end of the day, he walked me outside. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. Thanks for letting me watch. He looked at me for a long second. You didn't just watch, Emma. You reminded me why I make movies. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? He smirked. I'm a director. It's literally my job. We both laughed. The air between us was lighter now, but charged, like something waiting to happen. The parking lot was almost empty. Rain clouds gathered above. He glanced up, then at me. You should get inside before it rains. I like the rain, I said. It makes everything feel real. He stepped a little closer. You and your feelings about everything. You make movies about feelings, I shot back. We're even. He chuckled, then looked down at me, really looked. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The world was silent except for the sound of thunder in the distance. Then he said, You know what's strange? The more I talk to you, the more I feel like I'm inside one of your stories. Then you should be careful, I whispered. My stories usually end with heartbreak. Maybe we'll rewrite this one, he said, his voice soft but certain. And before I could respond, the first drop of rain hit my face. He reached up, brushed it away with his thumb. His touch lingered, slow, deliberate. That's when it happened. He leaned in, not fast, not asking, just waiting. I could have pulled back. I didn't. The kiss was quiet at first. Gentle. Then deeper. Real. It didn't feel like a movie scene. It felt alive. When he finally pulled away, he smiled, a little breathless. Sorry, he said, though he didn't look sorry at all. Are you always like this with your writers? I asked, trying to catch my breath. Only the ones who make me believe again, he said softly. Lightning flashed above us and the rain came harder. He held his jacket over my head, laughing. Come on. Let's get you home before my producer kills me. We ran through the rain, laughing like idiots. For once, I didn't feel like the quiet bookseller or the safe storyteller. I felt like someone who had just stepped into a scene that wasn't written yet. When we reached my door, he stopped. Tomorrow we start shooting the next big scene, he said. You should come. I thought you had it handled. I do, he said with a smirk. But it's better when you're around. I didn't answer. I just smiled, the kind you give when you're already in too deep. He turned, walking back toward his car, soaked, laughing. Before he got in, he called out. Hey, Emma. Yeah. He grinned. You write love stories. Now you're in one. And with that, he drove off into the rain, leaving my heart pounding like it had its own soundtrack. The movie blew up before it was even finished. Photos from the set leaked everywhere, and somehow in half of them I was there. Who is the mystery woman always next to Ethan Cole? The director's new muse? Headlines. Rumors. Comments under my Bookstore's page. Some called me lucky. Others called me worse. The quiet world I used to live in wasn't quiet anymore. Even my little bookstore changed. Tourists came just to take pictures, whispering my name like I was a character from a story instead of the person who wrote it. First, I tried to laugh about it. But then one morning I opened the door and saw a group of girls pressed against the glass, screaming when they spotted me. It wasn't funny anymore. That night I called Ethan. Your fans have invaded my bookstore, I said. He sounded half amused, half guilty. Guess the movie's working. I wanted people to love the story, not me. You can't control what the story does once it's out there, he said gently. Easy for you to say, I muttered. You live in this chaos. He was quiet for a moment. Emma, are you okay? I don't know, I admitted. It's just a lot. I'll come by after the shoot, he said. We'll talk. And he did. Late that night, he showed up at the bookstore, tired, in a hoodie, still smelling like rain and film lights. He sat on the floor between the shelves, leaning back against a stack of boxes, his eyes on me. I didn't mean for it to get like this, he said softly. You didn't sign up for fame. No, I said. I signed up for honesty. For stories. He nodded. You got both. Just more than you expected. We sat in silence for a while, the hum of the city outside filling the space. Then he reached for my hand. I'll protect you from it, he said. From the noise. I looked at him, tired but still a little amazed by how much I believed him. How? I asked. He smiled faintly. By reminding you what's real. He leaned in, that familiar pause, the silent question, and kissed me. Slowly. Deeply. Like he was trying to erase the noise of the world one heartbeat at a time. For a moment I forgot the headlines. The cameras. Everything. Just us. Just that heartbeat. But the world doesn't stop for love. Not even movie love. A few days later was the premiere night. The red carpet. The lights. The questions. I didn't want to go, but Ethan insisted. It's your story too, he said. You deserve to see it shine. He looked impossibly calm in his black suit. It didn't. We arrived together. Flashes exploded around us. People shouted his name, then mine. For a moment, I thought I could handle it. Until I saw her. The actress playing the lead, the me of the movie. Stunning, perfect, glowing beside Ethan for the cameras. He leaned in to whisper something to her, and they both laughed. Something inside me twisted. I stepped back, blending into the crowd, pretending I didn't care. He turned, searching for me. But I was already walking away. The hotel was 2 blocks from the theater. I didn't even notice the rain starting until I reached the door. When he found me later that night, I was sitting behind the counter again, the shop dark except for one lamp. "Emma," he said quietly, closing the door behind him, "you should be at your party." "I'd rather be here." "With your lead actress?" I asked, not looking at him. He sighed. "You saw the photos." "I saw the smiles," I said. He took a step closer. "That's acting." "And what's this?" I asked, finally looking up. "Another scene?" His jaw tightened. "You think this is fake?" "I don't know what's real anymore, Ethan." He walked closer until he was right in front of me. "Then let me remind you." His hand cupped my face, and before I could argue, his lips were on mine, fierce, desperate, full of every word we hadn't said. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "This," he whispered. "This is real." I closed my eyes, trying to breathe. "Then why does it feel temporary?" He didn't answer right away. Because he couldn't promise forever. He lived in scenes, in scripts, in stories that always ended. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "But I want to." For a long time we just stood there, soaked from the rain, hearts beating too loud. Finally I stepped back. "Then start by being honest. With me. With yourself." He nodded slowly, eyes soft. "Tomorrow," he said. "Tomorrow I'll tell you everything." But tomorrow didn't come. At least not the way I expected. The next morning he was gone, off to another city for interviews and meetings. No message. No call. Just silence. And on my counter, beside the book where it all started, was another note in his handwriting. "Don't lose faith in the story, even when it hurts." That night I sat in the bookstore alone. Outside, people still came to take photos through the window, but I didn't look up. Somewhere out there, he was talking to reporters about his latest masterpiece. Maybe even smiling beside her again. And yet a part of me knew the movie wasn't the masterpiece. We were. Messy. Flawed. Real. For the first time, I realized love wasn't always a happy ending. Sometimes it was just a beautiful scene. One you never forget, even when the lights go out. 3 months passed. The film came out. It was everywhere. Posters, interviews, reviews calling it the most emotional movie of the year. People cried in theaters. My book became a bestseller again. The bookstore was full every day. And yet, I'd never felt emptier. Ethan and I hadn't spoken since that night. He'd vanished into red carpets, flashing lights, and interviews where he said all the right things, except my name. I told myself I didn't need him. That this was enough, my book, my success, my peace. But every time the shop door opened, I caught myself hoping it would be him. It never was. Until one rainy evening it finally was. The bell above the door chimed softly. I looked up, ready to greet another customer, and froze. He stood there, dripping from the rain, holding a single flower, crushed a little but still beautiful. "Hey," he said quietly. I didn't move. "You're late." He smiled, that familiar crooked smile. "Traffic. And a few bad choices." I crossed my arms. 3 months late, Ethan. "I know," he said, stepping closer. "I didn't know how to come back. I thought maybe I'd ruined everything." "You did," I said softly. "And still you're here." He exhaled, setting the flower on the counter. "I watched you in every interview," he said. "You looked calm, collected, perfect. And I hated it." I frowned. "Why?" "Because I wanted to be the reason you smiled like that, not the world." I sighed, shaking my head. "You're impossible." "Maybe," he said. "But I came to make things possible again." He pulled a small envelope from his jacket and slid it across the counter. Inside was a photograph, the two of us standing under the rain the night he kissed me for the first time. On the back, a few words in his handwriting. "Every story deserves a sequel." I looked up, eyes burning. "Is this your way of saying sorry?" "No," he said quietly. "It's my way of asking for another chance. Without cameras. Without scripts." He reached for my hand, hesitating for a second, waiting like always. This time I didn't pull away. "I don't need grand promises," I said. "No premieres. No fake endings." He nodded. "Just us. Just real," I said. He smiled. Real is all I've got left. Later we sat on the floor of the bookstore, same spot where it all began. Outside the rain kept falling. Inside it was warm again. He looked around the shelves. You know, I used to think stories ended when the credits rolled. And now? I asked. Now I think they just change shape. I smiled faintly. Like ours did. Exactly. He leaned closer, eyes soft. Can I tell you something? Only if it's not another dramatic monologue. He laughed quietly. No promises. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. When I first came here, hiding from the world, I thought I was running away. But I wasn't. I was running to you. For a moment I forgot how to breathe. He brushed a strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingering at my cheek. And this time, he said, I'm staying. No big kiss. No music. Just that quiet, steady truth. The kind that doesn't fade when the lights go out. Weeks passed and everything shifted again. He still made movies. I still sold books. But every evening when the city got quiet, he came by the shop. Sometimes we worked in silence. Him with a script, me with a pen. Sometimes we argued about endings. Sometimes we didn't talk at all. One night I asked, do you ever think about making another film based on us? He smiled without looking up. Why? You planning a sequel? Maybe, I said. A story about what happens after the happy ending. He finally looked at me. Then make it a long one. I laughed. You'll direct it? He reached across the table, took my hand. No. This time I'll just live it. The bell over the door rang again. Another customer, another quiet evening. He stood up, kissed my forehead and whispered, back to work, writer. And just like that, he was gone again, but only out into the rain, not out of my story. I turned back to my notebook. On the first blank page I wrote the title, The Scene We Never Wrote. Then underneath it one line more. Sometimes love doesn't need a perfect ending. Just a second chance. And for the first time I didn't feel like the girl who waited. I felt like the woman who wrote her own ending. And this time it was real.